You're listening to the Bulldog Insider podcast, sponsored by Essentia Health.
It only takes one step, twist, or crunch to know something doesn't feel right. Essentia Health's orthopedic and sports medicine team gets you back to doing what you love with commitment, resilience, intention. We're here to keep you moving forward. Visit essentiahealth.org to learn more about orthopedics and sports medicine, like nowhere else.
Hello and welcome to the Bulldog Insider podcast, brought to you by Essentia Health. I'm Matt Wellens, the Bulldogs hockey beat writer at the Duluth News Tribune and the Rink Live.
And I'm Zach Schneider, the television voice of UMD Hockey on My9 Sports.
This week on the podcast, we're joined by a player who I don't think we've talked about enough yet this season. And I say that like it's crazy that we waited until episode 5 of the podcast to bring her on finally. And I'll get into my theory of why we haven't talked about her. We've talked about her a lot, but I'm thinking it would have been wall to wall to start the season. Welcome to the podcast, Gabbie Hughes.
Hello, everybody.
Like in normal world, Gabbie probably would have kicked off season 5 of this podcast. You're coming off a season in which you were a top 3 finalist for the Patty Kazmaier Memorial Award, a finalist for the Hockey Humanitarian Award, thanks to the phenomenal work you've done and continue to do at Sophie Squad. You were a first-team All-American, first-team All-WCHA. You helped lead the Bulldogs to the NCAA championship game. Now you're back for a 5th season, but you're on a team that has an Olympic gold medalist coming back in Ashton Bell, that's who we decided to kick off the podcast with. I think that was a reasonable. Was that an okay decision, Zach? I think.
Well, ask Gabbie, I guess.
Of course.
And then, like I've been writing a lot on the News Tribune and the Rink Live about Emma Soderberg. She's been posted shutouts and she reversed course and decided to come back for a 5th season. So we were talking a lot about her this off season. Like, again, I just listed this long accomplishment list for you, Gabbie. And I'm thinking, like, in a normal year, it would have been wall-to-wall Gabbie Hughes coverage to start the year. Where are you most comfortable? Is it in the spotlight, or I've designated this new position in honor of Elizabeth Jiggy, the hype person. Jiggy was your hype person last season. Where are you more comfortable?
I think I can be comfortable in both. It kind of just depends on where I'm at throughout my week with, like, actual life. If I'm having a great week, like, yeah, put me in the spotlight. I'll be good. If I'm kind of struggling a little bit, maybe put me in the back burner and I'll do my thing. But I think I really enjoy seeing other people in the spotlight, like having Ashton back, Emma back, or we have a lot of new people scoring this year. Mannon had 2 goals against one of the teams out east, and that was huge. So I think, like, when we have new people filling in that role and to see their excitement and how much they enjoy it, I think I kind of feed off of that a little bit. So don't get me wrong, love being in the spotlight too sometimes, but I do like sitting back and seeing other people get their times.
I was going to say, I'm thinking of other things I've written about. We mentioned you're approaching some milestones and such, but you mentioned Mannon having a good start. Mm-hmm. Kylie's doing the tour of every position again on the Bulldogs. Though I'm told we're not going to see her in goal. That's
sadly.
That's unfortunate. Maybe if we get to a point in the season, we'll see her in goal. Of all those things that I listed off earlier from last season, all the accomplishments, and there's even more in there that I didn't get to because this podcast would be just me listing Gabbie Hughes' accomplishments from last year. What are you the most proud of?
Definitely the Hockey Humanitarian Award. I think hands down, just the work that we're doing with that and being recognized for it is important, but also having that recognition at that level just gets the word out about mental health even more. So I think that's definitely the one I'm most proud of and want to continue to build off of.
Is that something you had to grow into? I think I asked the same question to Ashton when she was on earlier this year, but is that something you had to grow into to use the hockey skills that you have to create this other platform, which is so significant, not only in your world, but hopefully in the world of a lot of other younger girls hockey players around the state and the region? Is that something you had to grow into, that kind of say, hey, I can use this for something else?
Yeah.
And it seems to have really taken off in the last year and a half for you.
Yeah, I definitely would say it's something I had to grow into. I don't think I could come in my freshman year and do something like this and walk into the coach's office and be like, hey, can we do a Sophie Squad event here at UMD? Like, never done a Division I event before, but can we try it? So I think that definitely takes some confidence, knowing where you're at in life and knowing that it's for a bigger purpose and you can really use that platform. So I think definitely took some time for me to get to that point. Still have a lot of growing. I know there's a lot more stuff and a lot more tools I can use to really grow Sophie Squad, but that's still a learning process and a lot more growing to do with there and a lot more expansion for Sophie Squad.
How about that feeling when you're talking to girls hockey players at a Sophie Squad event? And I mean, they all want to be Gabbie Hughes. They want to be where you are, and you're kind of this larger than life figure for a lot of them, I imagine, at a lot of these events. So to use that platform in such a positive way, I mean, you talked last season about how proud you are of that versus anything that you accomplish on the ice, but has that made the last year and a half of your hockey career even more special with all that you've accomplished on the ice combined with what Sophie Squad has been able to do?
100%. I think for me, looking back at like when I was in their shoes and seeing a girl at the Division I level, no matter what school they were at, I just like completely idolized them. Like, they had no problems in the world. They were playing Division I hockey, living their dream, playing with their best friends, like living the college life, whatever that may look like for some people. But then you get into their shoes and you realize what it truly is all about and what it really encompasses. And I think kind of spreading that reality to those younger girls of what to expect when you do get to college, so you don't get hit by a brick wall. It's not all rainbows, sunshine, all perfect all the time. It's tough. It's something you got to grow into and get used to. So I think being able to pass that on to girls that look up to us and like very much so idolize us is super important to give them that realistic view.
Sophie Squad, you guys did that work all year last year with those Hockey Hits Back events, which I think became bigger and more popular than you guys anticipated. You do one at the Division I level. You had those with the Minnesota Wild as well, and then this summer, like all that was building towards the 5K and the golf tournament. What was it like to see that come together this summer? And I believe you had a good chunk of your Bulldog teammates out there helping you with that as well.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, that whole day was very surreal. I didn't really get to feel the emotions that I was feeling until kind of after the event and really look back at all the people that came out and how amazing it did turn out. Our coaches at UMD, Maura, they were lucky enough and kind enough to let our whole team just take a mental health day that day for the event. So everyone on the team, staff members, all came down and either did the 5K or the golf tournament, which was super special and meant a lot to me, and I think they knew that. So for them to do that means a lot and shows just what our Bulldog country really stands for and who we are as a family. But the event as a whole was just amazing, very surreal, and learned a lot first event, so we can definitely sit down at the drawing board like we have been and continue to grow it and make it better for next year. And
it wasn't just the Bulldogs down there, too. You had how many other teams showed up to help out and such?
We had a bunch of different high school teams show up, and then we had the Bethel women's hockey team, Gustavus women's hockey team, and those were kind of the ones that came in, their whole entire groups, their buses. They took their coach buses down and came to the event, which was super cool.
What's it like to see this not just be a Bulldog thing or, a Lionel Lake Centennial type thing, but seeing the entire Twin Cities and greater college hockey embrace this movement that you guys started?
Right. It's so important, and it's just so cool to see how it's expanding and how much people truly care about it and recognize it, even though nobody wants to talk about it. Just to see people want to get involved and really open up to it is so important and so key for what we're trying to do, just raising that awareness. So to see other people get involved from different colleges, whether it's soccer, hockey, it doesn't really matter the sport, just to see people want to get involved and volunteer and help out where they can is so important, and just continue to grow that. We have teams from out east that want to be, hey, can I be an ambassador for Sophie Squad? And we're trying to figure out how that all works. So just trying to figure that out, and maybe we can even grow it even more outside of just the Midwest.
Have the conversations within the UMD program and within your locker room, your players and coaches, have those increased during your time here too? Because this isn't just a young person's problem, right? Mental health can affect obviously at any age, any time, and you guys are under a lot of pressure on Friday and Saturday nights to perform. And it's not just the golf tournament, the 5K, it's your classes, it's did I have a fight with my parents? You
Right.
know, did I have a fight with my roommates type of thing? And then
Right.
you're still expected to perform, you know, when the games get here. So have those conversations escalated in the last year and a half, 2 years with UMD as well?
I would definitely say 100%. I think they were always there. They just never were vocalized. Like, you always have problems no matter what year it is here at UMD. I think just our freshman year, I know I was struggling a lot. That transition is so hard from high school to college, especially if you're a homebody like me, missing mom and dad, missing family and stuff. And that just wasn't something that was like recognized or talked about a whole lot. And now within the last year, 2 years now, that's the first thing we talk about as a team when we get in the locker room is we're all here. Coach emphasizes we have resources. They're a resource. It's okay to not be okay. We're here to talk. And I think having that just like verbalized to the girls as freshmen, but also to me as a fifth year, is just so cool to see and hear, because it hasn't always been there in our talks at the beginning of the season when we introduce everybody to the way we roll at Amsoil. So I think it's definitely changed, and it'll continue to grow, and people will get more comfortable as conversations keep happening.
It's important, not even just within your locker room and within the team aspect, but I think what you said earlier, to make it clear to young players and young girls who are aspiring to be at UMD
Right.
or another Division I program, to say, you know, this isn't, Gabbie Hughes doesn't have the perfect life, right? That she still has struggles, she still has bad days.
Right.
And so often I think sometimes we look at your hockey resume and we think, oh, Gabbie Hughes has got it all, right?
Yeah.
You know, the only thing she doesn't have is a national championship, and
Right.
hopefully she gets that this year.
Right.
But there's still a massive conversation on the other side. So I think that's been an important part for your conversation with some of the Sophie squad thing too, is even if everything else is going okay, there still could be this one part that, you know, needs to be addressed, right?
Right, 100%. And I am living my dream. I have a freaking blast out there, but there's still little parts in the life where I struggle here and there, or I don't want to get out of my room at the end of the day, but my teammates are like, hey, let's go. We're going for a walk. Get outside. Let's do something. No matter how good things are going. And I want girls to play college hockey, but I also want them to understand that when they get there, they're not hit by a brick wall like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. You gotta expect that and understand what it's all made of, and it takes work.
What's next for Sophie's squad? What events in the near future do you have planned for this season? And what do you kind of see? You mentioned you've already been contacted by some people out east to maybe expand this movement beyond just Minnesota. Yeah,
trying to just get more ambassadors at different schools, just to get the word spread out a little bit more is definitely one of our next goals. We have events coming up this weekend. There's like a national tournament at the Super Rink for like the Elite League teams and Shattuck teams and those kind of stuff. And they asked us to have a booth there. So we'll be posted up there this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then just our Hockey Hits Back events all winter long. We have a handful every single month. So just trying to designate volunteers for all of those and get those all sorted out is kind of what we're focused on right now. And then once we get through the hockey season, get back on track with what we can do for the 5K walk run and golf tournament.
Gabbie, if people want to volunteer with Sophie's squad, how would they go about doing that?
You can go to our website at sophiesquad.org, and there will be a link for volunteering, and you can just put in your information and fill out a little survey of what you would want to be volunteering for, and we'll point you in the right direction and which one of the committee members would take care of you.
Cool. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have more with Gabbie Hughes. You're listening to the Bulldog Insider podcast, brought to you by Essentia Health.
Hey there, my name is Wyatt Buckner, and I'm the host of the Duluth News Tribune Minute podcast. Hear the most important news of the day, including weather and sports from Duluth, Minnesota, and from around the Northland. Join me and my fellow reporters as we take you through the local news you need to start your day. Episodes are released Monday through Friday and are available on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for supporting local journalism.
Hi, I'm Maria Lockwood, a reporter with the Superior Telegram. Explore Superior and Douglas County history with me on Archive Dive, a monthly podcast available at superiortelegram.com or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome back to the Bulldog Insider podcast, brought to you by Essentia Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. They're proud to be the team physicians for the UMD Bulldogs and provide sports medicine care to more than 25,000 student athletes in the community to ensure they can compete at the highest level while protecting their long-term health and athletic futures. Thanks to Essentia Health for their support of the Bulldog Insider podcast. We're back. I'm Matt Wellens, joined by co-host Zach Schneider and our guest Gabbie Hughes. Gabbie, we're going to move more back into hockey here with the podcast. Last year, we were talking about all those accomplishments, and you mentioned the Hockey Humanitarian Award. I thought the Patty Kazmaier Award also brought a lot of attention to Sophie's squad. You going for both of those awards at the same time, it was fun to watch. And it was cool to see that hockey was recognizing someone not just for their on ice, but for the whole picture,
right,
which I think the Hobie and the Patty Kaz are supposed to do. But the Patty Kaz is still, there's a lot of focus on what's happening on the ice. What was that like for you, that aspect of last season, being in the Patty Kaz talk, and how much did it help to have a previous Patty Kaz winner in Jiggy, along for the ride with you?
Yeah, I think that whole entire ride of the Patty Kaz, it was just like so surreal. It flew by. Just being announced in the top 10 was crazy. And then it was top 3, which was even more crazy. And then all of a sudden we were sitting in Molosky Stadium and it was all over. And it kind of just flew by, and I wish I could just really go back and re-soak it all in. And you try to really take it all in when it's happening. But it is such a big accomplishment to be a part of that you just have so much adrenaline going, and it's just so surreal that you don't really see what's going on around you. So if I could go back and see how that whole process was again, I would love to. But Jig was one of those people who really emphasized just soaking it all in, and no matter what happens, it's such an honor to be a part of. And she kind of helped calm nerves throughout the whole entire process and let me know that it doesn't define me wherever I land in the lineup there. So I think having her by my side was definitely super important, a vet in the Patty Kaz.
That process of being in the national championship game and then the Patty Kazmaier Award and all the focus that's on Gabbie Hughes at that time, how does that compare now to this season? You come back after you were a finalist for the Patty Kazmaier, after you were in the national championship game. And like Matt said, we probably should be talking about Gabbie Hughes maybe a little bit more than we have, through the first couple games of the season. But there's a lot of expectation on this team and on you this year.
Right.
So how does that translate now through the summer? And you say, maybe the goal is not to win a Patty Kazmaier, but certainly to win a national championship. Right. So how do you reset from what was such a great season last year to get ready for this year?
Right. I think just really focusing on myself throughout this whole entire summer was super important for me, to be the best version of myself for the girls and just come in with a clear head. And I think that's definitely what we did, all of us. I think we are so ready as a whole squad to just dial in on that national championship. And it's in Duluth. So being able to really, really focus in on that is just what our whole team is, our motto this whole entire year. It's not really focused on anyone else or individual things or whatever. I think as a fifth year coming in, and it's just about having fun, soaking every moment I can up with my teammates and the people I've gone 5 years of college with. I think that's just all I'm really focused on is having fun and getting to where we want to go is definitely what we all want. I mean, who gets to play 5 years of college hockey with 9 of your best friends by your side every single step of the way? So definitely super lucky and just want to soak all that in and get to where we want to go.
I think as years go by, you'll probably look at your junior and your senior years, the last couple of years, when you get to the Frozen Four, get to the national championship game, as successful seasons in your college career. But now that you're back for a fifth year, you probably don't have that same perspective. So does it feel like, obviously there's unfinished business, but you had decided before the national championship game that you were going to come back. So is this kind of like a national championship or bust type of feeling? Is this season going to feel not complete without that accomplishing that final goal with this group?
I don't think so. I think maybe for a little bit it might feel that way if we don't get that. But I also know just how blessed I am to have these girls by my side. I think even if we didn't win a game this season, I'd be still happy I came back for a fifth year. I just love Duluth. I love the girls. The camaraderie we have down at the rink is unbelievable. But definitely, I think maybe for a few months after the season, if we didn't get there, it'd be a little disappointing, like it was a bust. But it definitely wouldn't be. These girls are very special. So knowing that I got to play one more year with them is super important for me.
Have you gone back and watched last year's national championship game? The Bulldog, you're heading to Columbus to see the Buckeyes this weekend. Maybe Coach will be having you watch some film because they're a pretty similar team as well. It's interesting in the WCHA this year. Minnesota, UMD, and Ohio State. Basically just brought back the same teams from last year with some Olympians sprinkled in.
Right.
Welcome to the WCHA, right?
Yeah.
Did you go back and watch that game after last year against the Buckeyes?
Only a couple times throughout the summer. I tried to once I got back to Duluth, just let it go after that. But definitely this summer, some bitter nights where I just sat and watched it. But yeah.
Did you find it therapeutic? Players go about it differently. Did you find it you had to watch it to kind of let it go and move on into this season?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think after the first time I was still pretty upset. After the second time watching it, it was more so taking notes, recognizing what went wrong, where I can be better personally and as a team. So after the first time, I definitely took it as a learning experience after I got my frustration and anger watching it out on that first go.
Is that a game you watch by yourself? Did you watch it with teammates? Do you have teammates that are like, nope, I'm never going back and watching it? I know we've talked to Scott Sandlin on this podcast. He at one time told us he hasn't watched the national championship games he won. He didn't go back and watch them. And his explanation was good. He wanted to like remember the moment.
Right.
He was afraid if he went back and watched them, then he would find things that went wrong in the game.
Right.
Everyone's completely different.
I suppose.
I thought maybe you would say, nope, haven't watched it.
Yeah.
So how did you watch it? Did you watch it with teammates or
by myself?
By yourself? Okay.
And it's more so just like little snippets. Fast forward 10 minutes here. Oh, shoot, I didn't want to watch that. Fast forward it through whatever. But no, definitely a watch it by myself in my room kind of girl.
Gabbie, what kind of impact did the Patty Kazmaier top 3 announcement, I'm curious, have on you personally that weekend? Because that came on the off day in between. And on the men's side, they actually award the Hobie the night before the national championship. And we've seen Cale Makar and Dryden McKay and other players, struggle the next day in the national championship. And Tom Curvers, when Scott Prenovich was up for the Hobie, it was interesting. Tom Curvers shared a story with me. He always thought it was selfish that the Hobie committee awarded the Hobie before the national championship because it can distract from the team. Mm-hmm. And back then, he had to leave his team for an entire day.
Right.
You got to still hang out with your team all day. I'm curious, what kind of impact did that have on you, that big announcement coming on that day?
Yeah, it definitely makes it seem like all eyes are on you kind of going in. I mean, already you're going into a national championship. Obviously, eyes are on you. But when you get named as a top 3 Patty Kaz going into the biggest game of the season, you're like, all right, every move I make is being watched, whatever. You kind of know that all the time, but with that on your shoulders too. So it definitely took a little bit to get in my groove throughout the game and kind of get that out of my head and really focus in on the game. I think anybody would kind of feel that way, but I think being announced for us was super important because I got to be there with my team. My coaches told me in the locker room before it was announced out on Twitter and whatever. So I think that was super cool for me to have my teammates find out with me and see how excited they were and share that moment with the people that kind of got me into that situation and got me to where I was. So I did like that aspect of it. But it definitely was one of those things where you're like, uh-oh, okay, everybody's really watching me now. So had to work through that a little bit. But I think overall I enjoyed the process of it.
Jiggy got to go up before the national media and be like, told you also.
Yeah. Do those individual experiences and successes, maybe, not yours wasn't away from UMD necessarily, but I'm thinking like Ashton Bell went and won a gold medal. Emma Soderberg played really well at the Olympics. Naomi Rogie has overcome so many injuries, and rebuilt her career at UMD so many times. You've got this Patty Kazmaier thing. Do those individual successes that kind of are unrelated to maybe like obviously when Maddie McMahon scores a goal, you're super happy for her, right? But do seeing people overcome some of those other things, does that bring you closer as a team?
For sure. I think whenever we are such a close-knit group, whenever anybody gets the littlest accomplishments or comes over, you have a stinking broken nail and it's healed and your finger's feeling good, you walk in, you're like, guys, my finger feels great. We're all like, yes, let's go. Like, we are just so close-knit that for someone to win a gold medal for our team, like, we all felt like we won a gold medal. Like, we're sharing that with Ashton Bell. She's our teammate. She's our girl. Like, that was so exciting. So definitely whenever any of those things happen, it definitely brings us a lot closer, and we're just so proud and happy for each person. And to see Rogie go through all the things she's gone through and come out on the other side and here for another year and fighting through it and still doing her best is unbelievable to see. And it's definitely a win for all of us to have her around still.
Emma Soderberg might be the only one who doesn't share in the joy the complete joy for Ashton Bell. Maybe 98% joy for Emma.
Hey, she almost robbed her in the World Championship.
She almost
there.
did. Yeah.
Get Emma a little. Emma hasn't petitioned you to change your citizenship to Sweden or anything like that, right? They could use a little more offensive help. If she can get a little more offensive help, she could take down Canada one of these times.
Right.
Gabbie, you were up for all those individual honors last year. There's a good chance. You're already leading the Bulldogs in scoring, racking up assists here. Early on in the season, I believe a goal and 8 assists going into the weekend against the Buckeyes. Your continuing work with Sophie Squad, I think, is going to put you up for the Hockey Humanitarian again. Have you prepared? Are you prepared to be part of those conversations again this season? And maybe what advice can you offer to, I think, Ashton, the way she started this year, and an Olympic gold medalist? She's going to be part of those Patty Kaz conversations. Emma's going to be part of, the National Goalie of the Year, if not also the Patty Kaz conversation. You could have multiple players, up for these awards. First, are you mentally prepared to go through that again? And what advice do you feel like you can offer your teammates as they go through it as well?
Yeah, I definitely think I am ready for that. I kind of have a different mindset going into this year with it being my last year and knowing it is my last year. I just really want to soak in every moment, and if stuff doesn't come, it doesn't come. I just want to have fun with my teammates and soak in every last moment I get here at UMD and with the girls. So I think just kind of spreading that message to other people when these awards do come their way, because they will for a bunch of us on our team. I think we have a great team this year, and a lot of people are stepping up to the plate in different roles. So I think just letting them know and letting them feel that this year is a special year and really just soak it in. Don't let it distract you. Don't let it stress you out. Let it take it all in, appreciate it, but let it fire you up and really just enjoy it and don't take it for granted and really just let it sink in.
It's realistic that you and Ashton Bell are both up for the Patty Kaz. So she's got her gold medal.
Yeah.
If you're both up for it, you wanna win it, right?
Yeah, of course. No, I think she's an unbelievably special player. I love watching her play. Even in practice, I catch myself just watching her. She's awesome.
You got your hype speeches for Ashton already? Are you ready to take on the Jiggy role?
Oh, for sure.
Just going up there and hyping Ashton every chance you get?
I am.
Or Emma.
I definitely am.
I don't think we can discount Emma in the Patty Kaz.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
I mean, she was 2 for 2 on WCHA Goaltender of the Week.
Yep.
Until she didn't play a game. Then she finally had to relinquish that title.
Yeah, shoot.
Last question for you, Gabbie, before we let you get going here. You do get to see Ohio State this weekend.
Yep.
First of, it's the WCHA, so you have multiple national championship rematches, and you'll have a regional final rematch with Minnesota later this year. Is this a revenge series for the team? And I've always asked this question, can you get revenge on a team in the regular season for something that happened in the postseason? I'm sure the Gophers would much rather have had a flip of their postseason with you guys recently. How do you see this weekend going into Columbus to take on the Buckeyes?
Yeah, I think there's always going to be some sort of revenge now with Ohio after that. I mean, it's always going to be there. We're always going to have that fuel when we play them or when we see their name. But I think we're still trying to figure out who we identify ourselves as and who we are this year. It's a different team. Every single year you go through it, you figure out what your identity is, and I think we're still trying to gather the little pieces and figure that out as a unit. So yeah, it's a little bit of a revenge, but also just kind of proving to ourselves who we are this year and that we can take them on. They're number one, but we can definitely keep up with them. We can take it to them too. So I think just finding out who we are, knowing who we are this year, and separating that from last year is super important for us, and that's kind of our main focus this year. Definitely a little bit of revenge for some of us, but still just want to focus in on this year and who we are this year. You
played your first 4 games out east and had a lot of success and won by a couple goals, I think, in all those games at least. And then you come back and you play Mankato this past weekend at home. And maybe I didn't get to watch all the games, but I don't know if struggled is the right word, but they weren't, you weren't winning 7-0 or 6-1 or anything like that. One of them went to overtime.
Right.
Was it good to have that kind of welcome to the WCHA moment for not only the older players to get back into the groove, but the younger players before you go kind of for their real welcome to the WCHA this weekend?
Yeah, definitely. I think having that experience going into any series is super important. I mean, coming back from out east, you're on cloud nine thinking you're all that. We got all our goal scoring intact, whatever, and we struggled to score goals against Mankato. Their goalie played really well. We got a lot of shots on net, and we didn't put a lot in the back of the net. So I think just focusing in on scoring goals, working with our lines, and figuring that out is super important. And we got to have an off weekend, so we've gotten 2 weeks to really focus in on that after Mankato. So definitely, yes, playing Mankato opened our eyes to WCHA play, and I think we're ready to go and take it to Ohio.
I was going to say, it's the WCHA. Everyone in this league can find some reason that they need to get revenge. Ohio State could probably come up with a reason why they need revenge on you guys this weekend. And poor Minnesota State. They had to open against the Gophers, UMD, and Ohio State to start the year. That was a gauntlet. So, Gabbie, that's all the time we got. Thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You can find the Bulldog Insider podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe and rate us. For more Bulldogs hockey coverage, visit therinklive.com and DuluthNewsTribune.com. Zach, what does the TV coverage look like for this weekend?
Women are on the road to Ohio State, so we won't have those games, but we do have the men against Wisconsin Friday at 7, Saturday at 6, and then the following weekend we do have the women's series against those same Badgers. They're in town, and the men's series against Cornell. So we get busy here in the end of October and into November.
And rumor is if you are in the Madison area, you will get Zach and the crew calling Bulldogs Badgers this week. Men this weekend.
Yep, that's correct. We're sharing the game all over Wisconsin, so hopefully UMD plays pretty well and people will turn us off by the end of the second period over there. But no, it'll be good. We're sharing the game all over Wisconsin, so people get to see the game. And then, like I said, next weekend we got 4 games, both women's games against Wisconsin and both men's against Cornell.
Thanks to our sponsor, Essentia Health, for their continued support of the Bulldog Insider podcast, and thanks to all of you for listening. We'll catch you next week.